And straight I will repair to the curragh of Kildare. For it's there I'll find tidings of.
Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Lilies Livin with Brian McDonald and Kevin O'Neill hosting. Kev, how are you doing? We are finally over the first round of the championship. Banana skin that was Louth. You were there in Tullamore. Seemed fairly comfortable listening in. How was it?
I was, Brian. I was there, and it was a comfortable win, I have to say now. I think any Kildare man who was going in 100% confident that game was lying to themselves. It was always a little bit of touchy nerve going into it. So good to get over, and good to get over in such style as well. I think it was a good marker laid down by Glenn Ryan's men there. I think a lot of people would also say Louth are probably the third or fourth best team in Leinster, and to go out there and really control the game for 65 of 70 minutes. I think it was a serious marker down, and on we roll now to the next one against Westmeath.
I mean, you say, every real Kildare fan weren't confident going into this. I said I'd quit this podcast if we didn't win this game, we'd have Westmeath in the semi-final, and both of those came to fruition. Now, in fairness, I did think in my ignorance that it was the route to the final was already planned out, and we were always going to be playing the winners of Westmeath and Wicklow. But I didn't realise it's an open draw now until the final, and but we do have Westmeath in Croke Park. It's a bit annoying it's in Croke Park, isn't it?
We're going to get into the podcast now with Andrew, but in one way, it's good to get a game in Croke Park before Leinster final. If I'm going to be that bold and say we're going to get Leinster final, I'm pretty confident we will put it out there. But in another way, it'll be a pretty dull affair. It'll be a Sunday. Realistically, the Dubs are playing after us. It'll be a half empty, even less, pretty quarter full. We're saying Kildare playing. So, for atmosphere, it should be down in Tullamore or Portlaoise, and that'd be a deadly buzz in the middle of May. But I think the boys up in HQ and have different ideas, obviously. So it is what it is.
Right, enough of us chatting shite. We'll go on to our third guest. He is a legendary cornerback. He captained Kildare to under 21 Leinster glory. It is, of course, the Ellistown man, Andriú Mac Lochlainn.
Mac Lochlainn there with him, and Mac Lochlainn just getting his right hand in there.
Yeah. Thanks a million, Andrew. Thanks a million for coming on the podcast today. Now we're excited to have you on for episode 3 of Lilies Livin. Before we crack into chatting about the under-20s and the big win we had then in Tullamore yesterday, we might just touch on the club stuff first. That's kind of what we've done with our previous two guests. Obviously, you're an Ellistown man.
Yeah.
And I was doing a little bit of research during the week there about Ellistown and the different players who went on to feature in the famous white jersey of Kildare. From that club, obviously, the likes of yourself. I think there was the Donnellys as well, Merton Ken, and the Noons as well. So, I mean, for an intermediate team, I think it's fair to say you probably over-index almost in terms of senior county representation. What's going on out there? What do you kind of attribute that to?
Yeah, look, I suppose we would have always had kind of good footballing families, and I suppose like most rural clubs across Ireland, it's kind of predominantly made up of a few families. Like my grandfather would have played, but my dad didn't play at all. He was at the Horses. He never played football. But like you say, like probably our most famous, Paddy Martin. That's the pitch is named after him. And also in more recent times, Jack Donnelly obviously would have been it's just unbelievable. Like even now, when you go around the counties, like actually, for example, yesterday at the game, I brought my two boys and my brother's lad, and we were up in the stands and we were chatting to one of the stewards there, as an older lady, shall we say, and on the way into the press box, and she was asking where they're from, and I said from Ellistown. She was, "Oh, Jack Donnelly." Like he was just that good. Like, he really was unbelievable, and so we were lucky then. I suppose my age group, we had Ken Donnelly, like Sid as we call him, was exceptional, and his younger brother Mort is my age, Martin Donnelly, and so we got to play in the same team all the way up. So I got to play a lot with him, and then we had Enda Noons, and then it was very good. And then at one stage, Philip Hennessy was on the panel as well, so Dewey as we call him. So like we had like 4 or 5 on that Kildare senior team between Crofton and Nolan kind of era, and then with Geezer with just me and Sid. And it was good enough, but like didn't really couldn't justify maybe the commitment that it took, which I actually really respect, because you know, over the years, you could have guys who were on the panel for the love of being on the panel and maybe weren't helping us get anywhere further. And maybe some lads in the team like that as well. You know, could have given us more, maybe. But I respected that from him because he said, look, I can give it what I can give it. And then just said, no, look, I have to step away. But he was very good, very tough, strong guy. And he retired early from the club as well. So we miss him, you know. So at the moment now, it's only really me playing, you know. And we had Fergal Loons as well before that. He would have been on that crop. I was there just before when I started playing. Tom Lochlainn played with the Masters as well. So he was very good. He's probably our longest serving player. So yeah, we were lucky. We have good football and stock out here, and we're all kind of back involved underage now, trying to get the next generation coming through. You know, we don't have anyone at the moment, but we have a few very good young lads coming through, like Evan Donnelly, would be like a relation of Jack Donnelly's. That Johnny Donnelly's his father. He's kind of on the development squad. He's exceptional, you know. So hopefully, a few more come along with him.
It sounds like an exciting setup out there. And something else I spotted online when I was looking into Ellistown as a club. Obviously, you're a Gaeilgeoir yourself, Andrew. And I believe, is there some sort of Irish language committee out there as well? Are you involved with that at all?
Yeah, likely. You know, I'm not the driving force in it. You know, there's the Scully family here in Ellistown would be kind of Gaeilgeoirs themselves, and one of the girls was the main driving force. So there's a committee now, and I'm loosely on it. Like, I'm not going to take any where she and all the work with it, you know. And an old principal of mine, and Sean DePuer is kind of on the committee for Clore na Gael. He actually was the principal of my school's Gael school as well, so I know Sean quite well. So we had a Cayley, you know, we had a Blitz as Gaeilge, where you just kind of try and promote the Irish language at any level at all. So if you only had a couple of words, happy days, use them. I obviously not completely fluent, but I would spend a lot of my life in the Gaeltacht. My eldest brother has a master's in Irish, and his whole business and Branner Dramiocht is all through Irish. So my other brother's a teacher, so we tend to speak a little bit around the house with the family, but more so obviously my family very much so. It's all kind of, we speak a lot of Irish at home, and all the kids are in the Gael school, my eldest girl can Gael Coloshta. So I like it. I like using it with the kids when I coach the kids underage teams, you know, so I like using it with them, and you get the odd kind of half look, but now they kind of know it, so I like that.
It's great to hear it. It's not the most obvious Gaeltacht area in the country now, and that part of Kildare, I wasn't aware of that, so it's an interesting one. But yourself with the Gaeltacht, was it kind of Connemara Irish you were speaking, or was it where were you based?
So like my eldest brother, so I've 3 older brothers and 1 older sister, and bar the Ellis lad, they all kind of went to Gaeltacht, and they're kind of similar ages. My second and third older brothers, you know, so they're all kind of similar friends, and you know, Liam Ryan, God rest him, Glenn's brother, Alan Monaghan, all them guys would have been down there. So I kind of just went. It was kind of the thing. My brother was working there as a teacher at the time, so we went down to Closh Kieran. I suppose I was probably 14, 15, 16 over the years. Kind of, I was working down there then over the summers, and I was training when I'm Carrua, and like obsessed with football. And Sean DePuer is the family who kind of was part owned Closh Kieran. So I was really lucky to be working with him during the day. You know, you get to hang out around the house in the afternoons and meet the family. And then I was out training with their club as well. And I would go home and play my matches, but I used to train with their club. So he was one of my favorite footballers. He was so tough. He was teak tough, but he wasn't dirty. And he had a lovely style of football about him. So it was kind of it was a nice combination. You got to play a lot of football, and you're kind of happy days that you're out of the house for the summers, free time.
I'd say the Ellistown lads were delighted you brought that slick brand of Galway football down there as well.
Oh yeah. It was sort of a great affiliation for Galway. I used to love playing against them as well. And Sean Oak's younger brothers were very good as well, and they were kind of underage panels of Galway that played. So it was nice to be able to kind of go up against them. They're actually 2 giant men. Sean Oak was a strong guy, but he wasn't massive. He was probably sitting around maybe same size as me, and but his other 2 brothers were giants. They were really big men. So it was good to kind of have your wares against them lads.
We'll move on to the old senior county career now, Andrew. Obviously, you were a mainstay in that McGeeney era, that famous McGeeney era. But you're also involved in various different Kildare setups. I think, if I'm correct in saying this, you joined the panel, was it 03? you made your senior debut. Looking back at the last 20 years, I think many people would agree that McGeeney era was potentially why Kildare looked our most dangerous, and we were kind of, maybe potentially top 3 or 4 teams in the country. When McGeeney came in, we've chatted to Emmett and Eamon about it previously as well, but how did that culture change, or what did you see change kind of massively when he came and got involved?
Yeah, it was a big change. I suppose I was doing my leaving cert and I was listening to your podcast with Lepper and how he got asked, and I actually got I was meant to join the panel that year as well, and I got a phone call from Paddy Byrne, who was a selector, and lovely butchers there in Kildare, and Paddy said, look, come in, Miko wants to have a chat with you. So I was still in the school uniform and I was in the back of the butchers, and Miko comes in, having a chat, and I was seeing you playing with the minors or whatever. I wanted to kind of come into the panel, and I had told Mum and Dad that I was meeting them and that, and they're like, well, what did you say? And I said, thanks, but no thanks. They're like, what? Because I was obsessed with football and writing on the walls at home and the farm, stuff you're going to do and win and stuff. This was always in my head. But I was just playing with the minors. I was playing the 21s. I was playing with the school teams. I was playing with the club, every age group in the club, minor, 20s, 21s, and seniors. And I just said, I just knew I wouldn't get through the leaving cert. And I was no pressure from my mum and dad. I don't know why. I still to this day don't know why I said no. I should have went in there. I would love to just been in that dressing room. I obviously wouldn't have added anything, but I would love to soak up that experience, because I was in the stand watching Lepper run out in Croke Park that year. That's could have been doing it, But it was so. Nolan took over, Park Nolan, then, and I came on under him. And luckily for me, Ken Doyle retired, because Ken, obviously, was a savage cornerback, and I had pace. I never played cornerback in my life. I've never played in the full back line in my life. I played all my football centre back and midfield with my club and with Kildare under 14s, 16s, minors, all that age group, 21s. But that was the only spot that was there, and I had pace, and I got Park slotted me in there, and Lacey took me under his wing and taught me, the dark arts. It was kind of, I suppose, on the job learning, really, genuinely, because some days I'll be tied up against some people, and maybe I might have been a better match for another guy, and Lacey took over. Maybe the guy who was a bit harder, didn't have to do them things. I remember one day being at McDonald was really using his intelligence to kind of make runs and getting free, and I couldn't figure him out. And Lacey just gave me the nod. We swapped over, and I can't remember who I picked up. Could have been Parkinson or one name, but. Bino was really, really good, and I hadn't figured that out. I wasn't experienced enough playing the full back line. I never played there before, but Lacey was very good that way. I always think he was just nothing over the top. He doesn't like the limelight or the attention. You see him now, he's involved with the seniors, involved with the 20s, involved with Tip. But he doesn't look for the limelight. And I always thought it was lovely the way he looked after me, like that, without being asked, or that I know of anyway.
You were talking about the dark arts there. I was reading a quote about you on Joe.e. I can't remember who said it now, but he said that when he came up against you, you were one of the most annoying cornerbacks that he's ever come across, and you'd be standing on toes and you'd be dragging out people. That's just part and parcel of the game. It has to be done. Get in your marker's head from the first whistle.
Allegedly. I can't see that close. I can never confirm nor deny.
It sounds like a similar style of play, that I try to employ whenever I'm out on the pitch. But it has to be done, doesn't it? And if it's only trouble if you're caught.
I suppose I have an exceptional. Actually, I always like the boys over this. I said I have an impeccable disciplinary record. I've never been sent off ever, any club game ever. And the boys saying, "But you're always getting a yellow card." And I said, "Yeah, but if you're a back." And you're not getting a yellow card. You're literally not trying. Yeah. Literally. Because it's a different story if you're pulling a lad on a red card or a yellow card, but if you're literally trying to get out in front and win a ball, or you're trying to stop a lad coming through the middle, you're timing is a massive issue, and you cannot be right all the time. You're going to pick up a yellow card. And I genuinely, if you're not, I kind of think sure, what were you doing? You didn't lay a hand on someone. And so that's a big thing. I suppose I team I coach, and with the young guys, I'm still playing the senior team now at the moment. We've got a lot of young guys, and you kind of get that message across, because there's a thing, I suppose, with football now where, you can't take a shot unless you're the person in the best position, and you don't want to give away a free, or how far did I run, and because I got the stats monitor, you kind of go like, that tells you, like, a stats will tell you anything you want a stat to tell you. Like, you can find a stat to get to confirm your debate or your angle of debate, and I can do the same with the same set of stats. Like, so I think lads have to realize that you have to play what's in front of you, and sometimes there's a lot to be said for winning your own patch, and less to be said about tactics and strategy and all that stuff. To kind of finish off your first question, like, Nolan, Pádraig was good. We got the Leinster final that year and kind of plateaued, I suppose, and Johnny came in, and obviously Johnny's a savage footballer himself, and Davy's involved, and it just was a different kettle of fish when Geezer came in with Grimbo, because he just had finished playing, and we had played against Armagh a good bit, like, so we had played against each other, so it was unusual, but like, he automatically had the respect of the dressing room, like, automatically. Didn't have to make a big roar and speech, give me respect, because that never works. He just had it. He came in, and because he had done it all, like, played, captained, and his management style, I'd say, was very much similar. Like, he didn't ask you to do anything that he wasn't willing to do himself in terms of commitment or anything, and Grimbo then was kind of like, had his own ways about it, like, and good, and we kind of got this toughness back in our game. And I suppose one thing I would always say, we brought back a little bit of respect to Kildare football that we had lost, I felt, since the teams like of Glenor, Rainbow and Dermot and Johnny had put back into jersey, like, with all them guys like Nuxer and Lyncher and all the other crew that they put back into Kildare jersey. I think we didn't do that for a couple of years, and I suppose that's what you tried to do, is to put the jersey back in a better place and try to win trophies. But only one team can win the trophies, so at least you have to look after the other part of it. So, but yeah, so I don't know who that other quote was, but they're definitely lying about the football.
I'll find out.
You're not having it anyway.
I'll find out now. I'll find out now before we finish up.
Just to keep going then, I suppose, and I'm sorry for going there again now, Andrew. I'm sure you're sick to that talking about it, but we do have to chat about the Bernard Brogan incident, so we'll get it out of the way early. I was actually, I think you were with me, Brian, that day in Croker. I was 16, 17, and it was such an exciting time, like, going up in the train, and we were all buzzing for it, like, and the way it finished up was, to be fair, like, I'm going to go out and say it, like, it was nothing short of a disgrace. And I even remember listening back to the commentary and that, and like, commentators, it was Kevin McStay maybe, and I genuinely couldn't believe it. Can you talk us through your experience of the incident?
Yeah, like, I suppose it come full circle at that stage, where, like, never having any experience playing cornerback, like, at that time of career, all my life was man marking the most dangerous forwards that we had to play against, and sometimes in teams where we didn't play as a team, which made life very dark, and thankfully in that group we played very much as a team, so it gives you a fighting chance. But I suppose the point I'm making is that you were always very used to, and you had to be comfortable marking these guys who are ultimately the main scorers of their team, but in the most dangerous parts of the field. And that's why it gets me, like, it's, you have to be very much aware of the scoreboard and your surroundings. And it was an horrendous pass that was sent up. It was actually just a clearance, and I was going over the sideline, and I had marked Alan and Bernard that day, and I'd done quite well in them, so I had no fear of them in that regard. And, like, I had a sideline and I have an end line as an extra defender. Like, why would you foul someone like that? Like, I was comfortable to stand him up, but I had taken the ball off him a few times in one-on-one. So, and I had Brophy coming back as a cover man. I could see him in the corner of my eye. So I was very frustrated, because I suppose that was when I had a word with the referee after that. That's really what all I said to him. I said, like, do you realize the significance or the gravity of your decision? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you were so far wrong. Like, and in fairness to Bernard, he didn't go looking for it. Like, do you know what I mean?
I know.
Like, I clipped my own heels trying to make sure I didn't clip his heels. You're running with your hands out, which is very hard to keep pace when you're running with your hands, like, out. So, because I knew obviously the gravity of it, because, like, at that stage I had 2 kids and maybe 1 on the way, and, like, you're just making people give up stuff that they shouldn't have to give up just because you're chasing a dream, and very, very much aware of that, because it was only really me and a handful of guys who had kids and it was only me and Niall really that had more than two, like Niall Carew, like, you know. So it was just very difficult, and you felt for. I was mad in that situation because I just knew it wasn't a free, like it wasn't a relation for free. And then you kind of have a little bit of fire. You kind of go, Jesus, have I let the team down? Because he knew what everyone else was given. But thankfully, the guys rallied around me and they could see it wasn't a free either. Like, you know, because I would have had to give away frees in my time, you know, like have to make a judgment call. And sometimes you get it right and sometimes you get it wrong. But that wasn't one of them days, you know. So, look, I found it frustrating because I felt we had them on the racks. I felt that it was a draw game. And we would have bet them in the replay. On a personal note, now that I'm retired, and my young lads are playing, I feel annoyed because I had marked two of their best players. I had saved a goal off the line, and that Alan Brogan had taken a bet Murph or Connolly, and I had set Lepper up for his pointer's goal, I forget. And they're the type of games, because like there was a ridiculous amount of press. Like we did a press conference at 7:30 in the morning to piss the reporters off because we were getting that much coverage on it. It was to get everyone on the one spot the one day. It was Geezer, Rowley, Dermot, Johnny, me, and Damo, and like there was just a ridiculous amount of, like, you sit down in your pod and like 4 or 5 just tape recorders in over. Like it was a phenomenal amount of attention for that game, for a semi-final of Leinster. Like it wasn't a semi-final of an All-Ireland. So they're the type of games that kind of get you a little bit of a profile to try and get your All-Star, you know, because I felt I should have got one in 2010, you know, for the lads I had marked in the season I had. But you kind of, in cornerback, it's not really unless you kind of are a scorer on cornerback, you don't really get the limelight. Like it's a difficult place to get your score or an All-Star, like an individual achievement like that. And a lot of what I did was kind of sacrifice myself for the team, which I didn't. I enjoyed doing. Like I took great pleasure in it, like, you know. But now that I'm retired, I would love to have an All-Star for the lads to show them, you know, particularly in them 2 years, 2010 and 2011. So that's what annoys me more now about that incident, because we would have got a shot to a Leinster 2-horse race. I'm not going to be disrespectful to anyone else who was in the final, you know, and then you would have got a chance to win an individual award. And after momentum in 2010, no, it's just a nice bounce. But that's, looking back at it, that's the thing that annoys me the most about it. Like, you know, particularly when it was like, that's what Kevin McStay was kind of saying, that, like, even if it was a free, you would give a free in that situation. Like,
common sense prevailed.
But it wasn't even like, there was no contact. Like, so I still kind of understand how it was. But sure, look, it doesn't keep me up at night. Just on an individual basis, you would love to have that for the young lads to look bad to, you know. But that's really it.
It does kind of feel, at the time we weren't aware of it, obviously, because it was such a good Kildare team, and as you said, so much momentum off 2010, and 2011 was a good old campaign anyway. But looking back, it's almost like a fork in the roads, because obviously we had a tough years after that, and then Dublin, that was the start of their, you know, big run then. So it just, and we chatted to Lepper about it as well. There's just so many what ifs, isn't there? Like it's and that's a really frustrating thing, you know.
And that's what comes up a lot, I suppose. And look, I don't mind getting asked questions. I have no problem with it. Like, it's not something that keeps me awake at night. Like, but it is that thing that comes up in terms of, well, where did Dublin go after that, and where did Kildare go after that? And I have a big issue with the financial doping that goes on, you know. And that would have catapulted them and solidified them. You know, would they have been as successful? I probably think they would have got there, but would have made that gap close between Kildare and Dublin. You know, like, we've been in the doldrums in terms of competitiveness against Dublin. That's the reality of it. Like, do you know what I mean? So, like, that's what annoys me with that. And what I do agree with you, it was a big fork in the road, like, you know.
Well, we're going to move on to more positive conversation now, because we've had a deadly few days for Kildare football.
Yeah, well, more so I want to start with your under 20 or under 21 career it was at the time, Andrew, because we were speaking with Emmett, as Kev said last week, part of Brian Flanagan's backroom staff at the under-20s. Obviously had an incredible win against Dublin in their Leinster final last week, and then they're up against Sligo in All-Ireland semi-final next week. But I want to look back to your under-21 career. You did have a Leinster championship yourself back in 2004. You bet the Dubs as well after a replay. Do you look back on that title as one of your finest achievements in the Kildare jersey?
Yeah, it was special. And like, when you're younger at the time, you don't dwell on it too much, you know. Like, I was very lucky with Kildare, since I'm like underage, like under 14s and every age group, you know. So and I was lucky that I got to captain them teams, you know. So when I was captain of the under 21 team, it was kind of like it was a special thing, and we had a special group of players, you know. So I was hoping that it would go that way, but we got momentum going, and I suppose like they weren't hoping to do that. Like we drew with them up in Park Town, and it wasn't expected, you know. Like I think they had 13 of the previous year's team that won the All-Ireland, and the senior manager was their manager, Lyons was there at the time. So I think when we got the draw, that they more or less felt that, well, that was our only chance, and then now they're going to wipe the floor with us. And thankfully, you know, when we went down to Portlaoise, that wasn't the case. And like they threw the kitchen sink at us that day, you know. Like Brian Cullen was moved out from the centre back to the full forward line. So I picked, you know, for the last 10 minutes, you know. But we had some good players in that team when you look back, and a lot of us were involved with the senior team at the time, which was a good experience. And look, it's amazing. It's not Crow Park, but it was amazing even to climb the steps and to lift the Leinster trophy, because I don't think it had been done since Glenner, Rainbow, you know, Eric Dockery, that crew had done it. So it was that wasn't today or yesterday, you know. So it was nice to kind of get back into that mold, because I think Mick Foley got to the final in the following year. His team, they fell short, I think, against Dublin, and then I think Chalkies was the year after then that they won that and got into the All-Ireland series, you know. So you like to think it helped, you know, like we could see that we could beat Dublin. My age group kind of was competitive against Dublin, so we hadn't got an issue with them. I got to play 3 or 4 years 21s, and the age group above me, like Rowley's age group and Ken Donnelly's age group, like they weren't as successful against Dublin. Because I remember being in dressing with head down, and I thought as a team we went inside ourselves a little bit, like, and we're normally a lot stronger. And I kind of had seen that issue where you had never beaten a team, where my age group, when I got to it, like that team had always been competitive against Dublin, so we never really had an issue with it. But look, it's fond memories. You look back, even now, like when it comes up and you think the guys have to do it down Portage again, and it's class, like, you know, for them. And even Flano and Scan and Boto and Lacey been involved there. Just so happy for them, because I was raging last year what happened to them. I thought it was really, really unfair that they're like Alex Byrne not being released, and you know, he's a big man for a young lad who's standing beside Messi in the field, and like you need your senior player in that age group, like, to win you a ball, and like that lad would have won you a ball in the last couple of minutes to settle the nerves and see the game out. And then who knows where the season would have went. Like, look at this year, like Flannel's team only bet Laois by a point, and now look, that got them on the road, you know. So I felt sorry for them last year, because of the work that the guys have put in. So I sent them a text, or I think I said it on Twitter as well. They're just hopefully they get the bounce of the ball this year, and it starts a great year for them. Like, and you know, so far it's great. Like, see what they've done.
Well, I just want to touch upon the age group, I think, and how hard is it to make the transition from under 21 football to senior football, and if there's been any sort of change in the way that they've changed it from under 21s to under 20s, because I have read online a bit that, you know, people, a lot of commentators might seem to think that it's naturally harder to make the step up when the age is a year younger. And what do you think? Do you think there should be an even further sort of field in between the 20s and the senior panel?
Yeah, like, I wouldn't agree with the 20s being 20s. I wish it stayed the same in that regard. Same way with, like, you know, with minors being actual minors. So I think it is more difficult to keep the guys involved unless you have the structures and the personnel and the funding for that structure and personnel to keep guys involved. Because, like, you just look at Johnny Doyle and Leopard, like them boys weren't stalwarts in their minor or 21 teams, you know. And then, like, look how much service and how, like, of a cog they were in our senior squads. So, like, how many other guys have we lost that could have been cogs for our senior squad? Like, them guys, like, you know, like, we thought, like obviously Leopard's my age group, like, he was savage, like, you know, but like Johnny Doyle, like, did so much for us in terms of his score and his ability, and, you know, his work rate, his danger, like, and service wise, and like he wasn't that guy in underage that was, you know, geez, you got to mark this guy, he's their danger man. You know, he wasn't making the team. So I do worry. I don't think there's enough schedule wise to have him on a 23 grade. You know, maybe like 6 months Strevin, like might suit Moorfield, Sarsfield, Selbridge. That's it, like. So it's hard to know. An inter-county under 23s might be okay, but not club level. But again, I disagree with your players not being able to play with the senior team that play with the 20s. I think it's a joke. It makes no sense whatsoever. Like, good for Kildare. We got in Ireland because Clifford and Sean O'Shea couldn't play. You know, like, now they are generational, like, but or once in a generation. But I just think another grade would be difficult, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, though. We were like, there was even, I haven't played God at a serious level at all, but I did play for the schools team, and there was some guys in our, who weren't getting into the school team who, a couple of years later, you know, a few of us go off to college and go on the session for a few years, and you hear that the boys who were on the bench of the school team are talking out for Kildare now. So there definitely is definitely a lot of sort of late developers, and I know what you mean in terms of the lads at under 16 level aren't, you know, it can take a while for you to get up to the standard. I want to look back to now on yesterday's game against Louth. I wasn't at the game myself. I listened to it on KFM because I was away. We were very comfortable, it seemed, from the commentary. I was quite bullish sort of last week or pre-match, saying, you know, that I did think that Kildare are on a different level to Louth, even the sort of good league campaign they had down in Division 3 compared to ourselves in Division 1, even though we were competitive. Emma Bolton was saying last week as well, we were sort of previewing some of their danger men, and he was sort of right in saying that Sam Murray hadn't come up against the sort of Kildare defence in the league championship that he would, in the league that he would in the championship, and we did manage to keep them pretty quiet. Was it as comfortable as the scoreline suggested and as the commentary made out?
Yeah, I suppose my fear was the start. We had a deflating end to a degree, you know, and they had a very strong end to their league, you know. And now you're looking at Division 1 team, Division 3 team, and now you're talking about 2 Division 2 teams. They had a championship game under their belt, you know, where you get all that nervous energy out of yourselves and where am I? We hadn't got that. So like our first game was going to be this, and your first ball, and some guys making championship debuts. So I worried that they were going to get a good start, and then they were close into a kind of a different sort of game. But in fairness to the squad and management, they really started well, and they started with intent, and they got the scoreboard ticking. You know, there was no like massive runs and trying to open up for goals. Scoreboard was ticking. You know, score point after point, just taking it over. Thought we were a little bit loose in their kickouts at the very start. I thought they got the kickouts away a little bit too easy. I would like to pin them in there a bit more. But that gap opened up, and then our defence was good, and they weren't working anything. Samuel Roy is dangerous, but he didn't get enough ball in the dangerous areas, you know, and we were able to manage the other forwards. Obviously, Conor Grind was good, but they never really gave any long ball into him. Now, it was 13, I think it was half time, it was 13-5. And we looked very comfortable. But then they got the first 2 points the second half, and go, oh, hang on a minute here now. They went more direct to Conor Grind and full forward. He got a couple of marks, and it was a nice little kind of, all right, so this isn't done and dusted. But look, after that, I think guys pulled away. That was a very good team performance, if I'm honest. Like, you couldn't say one or two players dominated the game. You know, kickouts are strong. Defensive unit was good. It worked well. You know, we did win a lot of ball. Kevin won a lot of ball in midfield. Yeah. Like, Kevin Lochlainn is a big man, but I thought he might win more clean ball for us. Like, he did a good job. He covered. He worked really hard. I even see him tracking, like he was dogging himself, and I'd love to see. I was getting out to my young lad, see him getting back too hard. But he was working really hard at the end of the game to get back. Like, I was impressed with that. I was impressed with Brian McLaughlin. You know, he shot on sight a couple of times there. Like, it was just really, really good. Backed himself. So like, it was good. It was good in the end, and we won. We did win comfortably in the end. But you know, when you get that gap and you know they have to go for goals, it's a little bit easier to manage the game then. But we kept it ticking, and we got a good few guys off the bench as well for game time. And And now, like, I suppose now we've got the job done. You know, that's how I just think first round matches are kind of, you don't know how it's going to be and how you're going to start. So a win is a win. Like I was chatting to a few lads afterwards, like, and I was saying to Dylers, like I was anxious, like, and he was like, Jay's like, he's the same with first round matches. You just don't know where you're at after your camp and that, and you just want to get up and running. And you're up and running now, that's all you can ask for. Whether it's a point win or 10-point win, you're up and running.
Yeah, we racked up another big score, and we had a couple of big scores in the league as well. I remember being at the last game of the league campaign against Mayo, when ultimately we were defeated. But the only reason we were in that game at half time, I think, was our scoring and our conversion rate, and that really does seem to have improved under this management setup. Do you think it's something they're definitely working on? I know you mentioned earlier on, you were talking about, only the right players should be shooting at the right time, or do you think there's a bit more freer role and there's less pressure on the lads?
I think it's a bit freer. Like I can see why teams do that, and there is get the man in the best position, but like football is football. Like, I mean, I don't like to be too sterile about it, like, if I'm honest. And like, mistakes will happen, and sometimes you're in a position to shoot, you should shoot. Like, maybe there's someone outside you who scored more, like, but they might be in a good position. I think there's what I know is that we tend to retain possession the same way within our other managements. But the big difference to me is that if there's a long ball on, we'll give it. Where before it was always carried through the hands. If there's a ball to be given into the full forward line when we're around midfield, they'll give it. And if there's penetration, that's the biggest thing. Like, before we went left to right, there's nothing. Where now we actually have runners asking questions. And when you have runners going across the line of a blanket defence asking questions, you're making gaps, so it's normally that man is sacrificing himself on the ball to pop it back out to somebody to score. And it's not the first and second are never any good to you. It's normally the third one that gives you success for goals and things open up. So that's the big difference. We're patient, but we're asking questions. You're always probing across that line. And we have options now for midfield, we will come up against midfielders that are stronger in possession wise, and we have to be good. But it's another step up. Like, Wicklow will be full of confidence now, and two teams haven't played in Croke Park in a while, so and it's obviously in Croke Park. Probably isn't a bad thing before we play. If we win, if we're going to play Dublin there, but I think there could have been in local pitches, like there was 5,500 there at Tullamore, but it was a good atmosphere. If there's 30,000 in Croke Park, it'll be dead. It's actually flat. It's eerie, and not all them 30,000 will be there for 4 games. Half will come to watch the first game. Not everyone will stay around for the second game. The guys who are in the second game, Dublin fans, particularly, a lot of them don't come. The real core, actual football people will. But the Croke Park probably just seen X amount of people by X price and makes more sense.
Yeah, I was saying to Kev beforehand that once again, I am quite bullish that I don't think Westmeath. I do think Kildare will be too strong and won't be comfortable, but I do think that they'll win. But I did say that the only sort of issue I would have is that we're going to be playing in a flat croker, and Lepper said the exact same thing when he was on 2 weeks ago, that it can be very eerie. And sometimes I think of Kildare's performances in croker over the past number of years, and even the semi-final last year against Westmeath as well, it was an even more eerie croker because of the social distancing and stuff, and the capacity was capped. But Westmeath, we weren't at the races at all that day. We won the game, but Westmeath kicked so many wides in that game.
There was a little bit of social distance on the field for the last couple of minutes because they had about 7 or 8 wides there that could have kicked us out of town, so we got lucky. I suppose you have to ride your luck a little bit, but I don't think that this current setup would allow that. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then just looking, I know we can't look further ahead than a Leinster semi-final, but if we were to meet the Dubs in a Leinster final, or potentially after winning a couple of qualifiers and later on in the All-Ireland series, do you think, would you be the most confident that you've been in a couple of years that this Kildare team will have the chance to go toe-to-toe and beat the Dubs in a championship game?
Well, I suppose I'd be confident that these guys would have a cut. And that's all we can control as players. We only can control the controllables. And part of it is turning up and kind of going, well, actually, I believe I can win here. And I believe that Kevin Bryan feel that too. And like if that like I can be sitting there and I can feel if someone isn't all in here or sitting beside you, and that multiplies out. So when you're in a dressing room where you look across the room and you catch someone's eye and you just know that person's going to go to the well for you, and you only can get that from training and lads going to do well for you. But you can manufacture in training with hard sessions. And I think this team under the current management have shown that, that they may make mistakes because they're bonding and they're learning each other's style. There's new lads coming in, and it's their first year and set up, but that they won't be found wanting when it comes to their application and effort and endeavours, and against Kerry, they went toe to toe. The Dublin performance, there was diving blocks. It was, like even Aaron rushing off the line to make an amazing save early in the game. So I think there's a lot there they've showed. Like open Tyrone against All Ireland champions. Like one, they felt they were left behind, but at least they were at the table. Like they got them in seventh position to compete. So like the Monaghan game, like it was like when they had to win. I wish they would have finished the job off against Mayo, because Mayo were there for the taking with the changes. Like, but the point I'm making is that I feel that they will go and have an actual cut. I've said this loads of times, people are always sick hearing it, but there's a big difference, and I feel that this team is trying to win. You can see a team going out and their fear is losing, so they're trying not to lose. There's a big difference, and I don't care if Kildare lose by 8 points or 9 points again. I'd be raging. Yeah. But if they actually have a cut and try and win the game, and like if you're 2 points down, I don't want you keeping the ball and going left to right, or playing sweepers. Like, you're trying to win a game. Like, you need to go out. Yeah, if they get a goal and you lose by 5, so what? Like, do you know what I mean? But you could have a chance in front of you to go and get a goal and win by 1. And that's bigger for me. Like, I'd rather any of the teams I'm involved with, playing wise now with the club, or that I'm coaching. That's the mentalities you have to have. There's, especially later on in the game. It's okay at the start of the game, and you're playing your tactics and your strategy to keep yourself in the game and nullify other threats. But a certain point comes when it all bets are off, and you're going balls out here now to win this game.
Yeah, plenty to look forward to. For what it's worth, as a simple, nothing more than an armchair analyst, it is the most confident I mean of Kildare getting one over the Dubs this season and having a real go at a deep run in an All Ireland championship. But thanks very much anyway, Andrew. Before we go, we were talking to Emma Bolton last week, and he was talking about some of the fundraising that you were doing as part of the squad.
Yeah,
I don't know if you listened in. Right. I don't know if you listened in, but he was saying that he did a bit of white collar boxing in his time, and I think he mentioned he fought yourself and Rowley Sweeney.
Yeah, we did the year before. Like me and Mikey fought the year before, and actually my little one was my first child, was actually in hospital at the time, and I came back for the fight, and Mikey was like, "Don't take it out with me now." And she was okay, like, but we were very similar height and weight, and we'd sparred a good bit, and we took the head off each other. Like, there was just blood everywhere. And then the next year, only a handful of us got caught to fight again. And Muggins here was caught fighting again. But there wasn't people. It's hard to get the weight categories. So I got paired with Boto, and Boto carries a little bit of weight, so he's a little bit heavy. So I just said, look, I'll go easy on him. I'll fight him. So we had a good crack off each other, like, do you know what I mean? But Boto still feels he won that one, but he got embarrassed basically.
Yeah, I have a feeling every player we ask for their sort of perspective on how their own bouts go, we're going to have a different perspective from everyone.
No, like there's facts
who's
and
describing their own one.
Boto lives in this kind of weird, like, fairyland there, like, you know what I mean? Like, going around counting sheep and jumping over there, like, never happened. Like, for sure. Well, it was worse. I couldn't even talk. Me and Mikey couldn't even talk after. Like, Rainbow interviewed us for this tape. I still couldn't string 2 words together. We carried each other up the stairs afterwards. Genuinely, we had, there's a massive stairs up in the back of time, and the two of us were arm in arm trying to get up the stairs together. Like, we met a hate with each other. It was horrendous. It was good training, but like, sparring was no crack, because there was only 1 or 2 of your same height and weight, or whatever. Like, I got sparring with Willie Heffernan one day. I was like, I just had to go in swinging, get underneath him, because he's a giant of a man. There's not one bit of fat in him. He's all muscle. It wasn't fun, like, but I know it was good, and it actually it's a serious thing. Apart from the fundraising, there is a kind of a serious element to it in terms of from your own mentality and but in the ring and depending on yourself, you know, when you're getting the head boxed off you, that can you actually think under pressure. And we did a little training with Geezer with some of the jiu-jitsu we did with him, and some of the Thai boxing part of our kind of fitness and conditioning. But a lot of it was, can you think under pressure? Or can you think yourself out of a difficult situation? You know, all this bluster can only get you so far. There was always a reason for it, so it was good, like, you know.
Yeah, we might throw it up on our Twitter profile if our listeners will be interested in a rematch of Bolto against McLoughlin. And if it gets more than one vote, we'll have to go through.
Oh, we'll have to look. It'll make sense funny, but sure he'd have to put a lot of weight though before he can fight.
Oh, big words there now.
It's not. Well, in fairness, now he has massive arse and quads. He is very fast, like, do you know what I mean? So he gets his power and pace from somewhere, like, you know. So that's the motor for him. Like,
well, it looks like we're going to get any of our guests on this season. We're going to try to get into a little quarterfinal, semi-final, final. So we'll be back in touch with you later on in the season, Andrew. All right. Thanks for taking the time out to chat to us today.
No worries. Chat to you soon.
Nice one.
Cheers, Andrew. Thanks, mate.
All right, lads. Slán. Best of luck.
Oh no! The referee has given a free, and Kildare protest.
That was Andriú Mac Lochlainn. Thanks again to him for coming on. He's quite bullish about beating Emmett Bolton in a rematch of their white collar boxing bout. Mo Theatre, neutral venue. We get it set up.
I think so. I think it would definitely lean a little bit towards Emmett's parish. Obviously, Ellistown's only at the road from Naas there, so might have to look at somewhere in Newbridge. Maybe the Cadine might have something going. We'll see.
We'll get in touch with them. We'll put it out to our listeners as well. We will get polls up on our Twitter and Instagram pages to see who maybe that class of sort of 2010 would they like to see square off against one another and who'd come out on top. But it's a week off now before the Leinster semi-final in Croke Park against Westmeath, but on Saturday the under-20s are of course in their All-Ireland semi-final against Sligo. It's in Cavan, I believe, 4:00 on Saturday in Kings Palm, Breffni Park. It's also on TG Card, so make sure you do tune in if you can't make out to the game, and the very best of luck to Brian Flanagan, his back himself, and all the team there. For St. John's in action this week, Kev, or what are you going to do over the next week or two in the meantime before the Westmeath game?
I'm going to be bet into the football next weekend. We actually have our Division 3 and Division 4 league campaigns kicking off next weekend. So I don't know if I have the legs for both games. I'll tug out anyway and see how I get on. But you're right. Like we're a mid-championship now. Like we're up and running. Big win against Louth. Like I think this Westmeath game is going to be on my mind over the next 2 weeks, and then probably further afield looking to a Leinster final. So it's exciting times, but I know it's not.
Absolutely is. All right. Thanks everyone for listening in. We will be back next week or a couple of days into next week with another guest, and we will chat to you then.